Hello and welcome to this installment of our Video Spotlight series. I'm Graham Triggs, your host, and I'm joined today by Mac Boyder, who's a research director over Revenue Cycle. Mac, thanks so much for being here today.
You bet, always pleasure.
Now, we're talking about coding today, and coding has been around in healthcare pretty much ever since there's been healthcare. In the last few years, as technology has advanced, computer-assisted coding came on the scene, as well as coding automation. Why is this such a relevant topic right now?
Since ICD-9 to ICD-10 transitioned, years ago, there has not been as much focus on medical coding and so on as we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. And then with COVID-19, obviously, the provider organizations were looking for help in terms of how do we adapt to this, the new normal, what do we look at? And so this is where a lot of these coding companies are trying to find niche areas or places where they can get in and not only provide coding of some kind, but also actually audit that coding, provide training around that coding. How do we be compliant to make sure that we're getting the correct codes applied, but then also more importantly, making sure we're not making mistakes on the outcomes so that we can provide that patient care. So very, very important.
Yeah, I remember the switch over to ICD-10. It was kind of like the Y2K of healthcare.
It was a very interesting time. There's no question of that.
So why did we specifically decide to do a report on YesHim Consulting?
Yeah, so YesHim is an organization that has been around for a very long time and has provided coding and coding support and services for years. Their focus is on that auditing and that training aspect, as well as providing coding solutions. And so, as I said a minute ago, COVID-19 brought this into sharp relief, where suddenly we were really needing to be making sure that our, whether it's an internal process or whether it's a hybrid model of an internal or external, we have offshore, onshore resources, pro-fee, inpatient. What does that look like? And does everything align? Do all the organizations work well together? One of the other interesting things too is that as inpatient facilities and acute care facilities have over time those larger IDNs and kind of gobbling up or acquiring outpatient clinics and physician practices, making sure that everyone's on the same page in terms of congruity between the coding practices they have is a very, very important part of ensuring, again, not only the triple aim of healthcare, but at the heart of it, just being a good provider. And so YesHim comes in, they can help you with coding, auditing, they can do some really excellent work around training and compliance to make sure that you're up to speed, whether it's your own internal resources or you're partnering with somebody else, or you need them to do some coding for you. They do all of that.
So what did we learn by talking to their customers about YesHim?
So YesHim is a company that comes up with the words strength of partnership. That's something that again and again we heard from their clients, that they really appreciated that they felt like they were even a member of their own team. There was not a real distinction between these are the Yes folks and then these are the folks that we have internally. They do a great job of coming in there and synergizing their workflows and their personnel to make them feel like they're part of your team. And so as a part of that then leads to better outcomes again. It leads to better ROI in terms of making sure the coding is done properly and accurately. So that was something that came up quite a bit in the commentary we got.
What were some of the key challenges that people mentioned?
There was one client who mentioned just some issues around making sure that they would adapt to the updated needs. And something you brought up earlier, Graham, which I thought was very important, not just CAC, which has historically been around for a while with different iterative updates, but with the rise of autonomous coding, right? What does that look like? Where we were using not just NLP, but algorithm-driven AI to drive coding practices. But even within all of that, we have to have a human element to ensure that, again, the codes are accurate, to ensure that we're really making all the diagnoses as they should. We're not flagging things too often, too much, like sepsis on every single, chart. All of this comes into play, and that's where YesHim was really important because they help provide that overarching structured training and auditing that helps make sure that is aligned.
Gotcha. So what's the bottom line from this report?
So what we found is that those who are using YesHim for even just their basic coding services, like you would get with other vendors that are out there, get very high quality for coding, number one. But then the reason they selected YesHim in most cases was because they do provide those ancillary supplementary support features like the coding, auditing, the training, and so on and so forth. They really liked the fact that they had the breadth of solutions from the continuum of coding to make sure that they were actually getting their best value they possibly could.
Great. Well, that's been great insight. Thanks so much for sharing that and being here today. And thank you for watching our video spotlight today. If you'd like to take a look at the report, you can see it on our website at classresearch.com. And as a reminder, if you know of any healthcare IT vendors that are emerging, disruptive, or innovative, we'd love to hear about them. And you can actually send referrals to etech@classresearch.com. So please keep those coming in, and thanks again for joining us today.